same time, Parliament's ad hoc committee is investigating allegations of corruption, political interference and malfeasance in the South African Police Service. And it's calling on the public to make submissions on matters that may assist in their investigation. The public, as well as organizations, have until the 17th of October to make such submissions. The ad hoc committee hearings are set to start soon and will run concurrently with the Nhlanhla Commission of Inquiry investigating the same allegations. For more on this, we're now joined by Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach, who is a member of the ad hoc committee on the South African Police Service and that investigation. Advocate, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it and for joining us this morning here on AM Report. I just wanted to perhaps just touch on whether this recount or asking for the public to share some information, etc. How do we ensure that that measure in itself is done correctly? There's a safeguard with that information, that data, and what do you manage to sift out and keep in?
Good morning. Yeah, well, you know, it's the ad hoc committee is a committee of Parliament, and Parliament belongs to the people of this country, and so they must be invited to participate. Public participation is a key element of the ad hoc committee. So people have been invited to make submissions to the committee, bearing in mind the mandate of the ad hoc committee. So submissions outside of the mandate will not be considered. Submissions that relate directly to the mandate of the committee must be under oath or affirmation. If anyone needs assistance to draft such a submission under oath or affirmation, they're welcome to contact the secretariat of the committee, and all that has been set out in the advert, and they will be assisted to make a proper submission. And then the members will, of course, engage with those submissions. Some of them may remain, you know, on paper, and we will deal with them in that fashion. And others may be invited to present, depending on the nature and the content of their submissions, and also bearing in mind that the ad hoc commission committee has a very finite life. We have to finish notionally by the 31st of October. It's becoming clear now already that, you know, we're not going to make that date, and I assume that that the chairperson will approach the speaker for an extension. But we're having a meeting on Wednesday. I think our final planning meeting. After that, I do believe the committee will start sitting and hearing evidence. All
right. So you wouldn't be able to, of course, share then when you're anticipating to have Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi then brief the ad hoc committee then, because you're still set to have this meeting and it's a planning meeting still.
Yes. Well, you know, ideally we would like him to be the first witness. He has now testified before the commission, so that obligation of his is out of the way. And so I have every reason to believe that he will be the first, and that it will be hopefully this week or next week.
Yeah. Verifying some of or testing some of the public submissions, how will you be able to do that? And will there be a chance for cross-examination for any of those that are submitted by, whether it be community members, society, etc.?
Well, the committee is not an adversarial setup, so it's an inquisitorial setup. So cross-examination, as people expect cross-examination to be, is unlikely unless there are serious discrepancies. I hope, and the suggestion has been, and I presume it will work that way, is that each member of the committee will be given X amount of time to engage with each witness. And in that time, you will obviously engage with them, question them, probe their submissions. Cross-examination in the style of a court cross-examination is probably not terribly likely.
Are you able to give us a sense of understanding about the legal support for some witnesses, access to information, and most importantly, whistleblower protection? How is that being handled under the committee's rules?
Well, we regard whistleblower protection and witness protection as extremely important. It has been an exceptionally concerning trend just of late in South Africa to murder, there's no other way of putting it, murder or assassinate witnesses and whistleblowers, and we've seen it happening with more and more regularity. So we have taken steps to address that issue. The committee has appointed legal counsel to assist all of the people making submissions. We've appointed a silk and two juniors, and they will assist these people making submissions, and the Secretariat and the legal counsel will ensure that that the submissions are in order, that they are properly supported, and where necessary, that protection is put in place.
Can we talk about the pitfalls very quickly? I mean, in past inquiries, people have wondered as well, and maybe not necessarily just ad hoc committees, but inquiries in general. But as you said, this will be an inquisitive stance that you're still going to maintain as the ad hoc committee here. Things like long delays. Of course, you've just said that the work will definitely not be finished then by October the 31st, so you may need to ask for an extension in that regard. How do you ensure that these delays do not keep on going with regards to this? Because wanting answers sooner rather than later is important. The aspect of political interference being a key proponent to that, maybe insufficient evidence, poor follow-through on recommendations. How do we ensure that those aspects do not creep into this ad hoc committee this time?
Well, there are many parties represented on the committee, so that in itself is a sort of a quality control. Each party has a narrower party interest in how they approach the matter, but generally speaking, we all, the committee is not a partisan committee, and so we're there as members of parliament representing 60 million South Africans, not representing your party. And so the driving issue is to get to the truth. And we will do everything in our power to achieve that goal. I believe that every single member of the committee has as their goal achieving the truth out of all of this. Commissioner Mkhwanazi made very serious allegations, and those allegations need to be followed through. And if they're all true, well, that's very concerning, and those issues need to be addressed. The ad hoc committee is a creature of Parliament, and therefore, in the background, it has an oversight duty, and so the recommendations made to the National Assembly, which will be debated, will also have to be followed through by the committee. And so its life won't end on the day that the committee stops hearing evidence. Its life will end when we have been able to follow through on all the recommendations and put remedial steps, processes in place. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the important part, because people are going to say, well, we've had this committee, we've had question marks, we've had this inquisitive nature around this, and yet nothing then gets done. And I wanted to find out maybe this is preemptive really, so excuse me for it, but are there legislative or procedural reforms that perhaps have already been considered that would strengthen the South African police service, for example?
Certainly, some issues have been loosely kicked around, none of which I'm at liberty to discuss on this platform. But certainly, I think we all have in mind, and having had discussions with each other and robust discussions with each other over the last few weeks, it's clear that we all have in mind achieving the truth, and then achieving outcomes that will place remedial steps in place to ensure that whatever's wrong with the police, the criminal justice system as a whole, are attended to and followed through until implementation.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely critical. Just as a final question, your coordination with the Nhlanhla Commission, whether it be, of course, because of witnesses, you already had to do that with Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as well, and his need to have to be at the commission itself. How will you avoid conflicting findings or speak to things like conflicting findings if that was to ever come to pass?
Well, of course, we liaise with the Nhlanhla Commission, our Secretariat and the Legal Counsel in particular, liaise with the Nhlanhla Commission so that, calling of witnesses doesn't clash and we don't interfere with each other's time schedules as far as is possible. Conflicting outcomes, well, you know, that's not impossible. Certainly not ideal, but it's not impossible. And if that happens, then we'll have to deal with those conflicts as they arise. This committee is tasked with this particular job. We have to conduct the hearings within the four corners of our mandate, and whatever arises out of that, we have to submit to Parliament, to the National Assembly, and thereafter we have to make recommendations on steps going forward, and thereafter we have to make sure that they're implemented. So conflicts, it's not impossible that they could arise, but we have to, you know, deal with our own mandate.
Just very quickly, one is not higher than the other, is it? In terms of the commission?
No,
and
one
the
is
ad
not
hoc
higher than
committee.
the other, but the processes are somewhat different, and the legal structure of each is somewhat different. The Nhlanhla Commission will finalize their work. They'll make recommendations to the President, and the President will then, you know, decide on how he's going to deal with it. Parliament is a little more peremptory. We must conduct our business, make findings, present them to the National Assembly, where they will be robustly picked apart, and we must make recommendations, and Parliament will be responsible for the implementation.
Yeah. Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach, thank you so much for the time this morning.